Alright, hello everybody. This is the second attempt at shooting this. I did a video on this last night which didn't go exactly as I planned. Providing my battery holds out, I think this will be a more concise report on the 1960 Fetters weather wheel. The chassis is more or less restored. I did what I would call a sympathetic restoration. I kept what was original that looks decent, and I restored what needed to be restored. So if we look at the front, the faceplate I restored. It does have a few battle scars from over the years, some deep scratches and a few small dents in it. But I stripped the existing finish off, polished it on my buffing wheel, and then lacquered it. And I repainted all the white lettering here, you can see. Now, one thing that hasn't been addressed is that there's lettering present in the knobs. And I'll remove the ventilate knob here. You can see a close-up of it, but essentially you should be able to see it. It says exhaust and ventilate, and it's very, very fine recessed print that wore off. I'm going to have to try to see if we can get a very fine tipped paint pen and might be able to replicate that. If not, I'm going to get together with my friend Anthony. We're going to see if we can scan this and make either a decal transfer or a sticker. Now, the coils have all been new brighted. The base tray underneath here has been painted, and this is original, and you can see it's in pretty nice shape. And then this surround is original, and then this is new. This is the Rust-Oleum appliance epoxy, which is pretty nice paint. Get a good shot here. Here's the Tecumseh AU. Mostly all original paint on it. I did touch up the paint on the bottom here on the legs, so it's kind of rusty. This is my drain hole mod, which is right next to the original drain slot, which is usually where they rot out. So surprisingly, this tray had no rot on it. The condenser coil's been cleaned. It did get whacked pretty bad right there. And I had to like pull the fins out with pliers and straighten them with the fin straightener. It's pretty good, and they cleaned up nice with New Bright. Let's see what else here. The blower motor still has the original tag on it. I don't know if you can make this out here. There it is. The only time I've ever seen the tag legible on one of these. And again, you can see the chassis. It cleaned up pretty nice. I didn't go painting the sides of these like I did on the other units because they look pretty clean yet. I did just spot a little blackening on the bottom where there was some light surface rust. Now, the big bone of contention with this unit. I'm uncertain if this unit has or does not have a full charge. One other quick thing, I'll show you the data tag. This is a 911D3. It's 9,700 BTUs, and if you notice, the heating section has no amount written on it, which debunks the fact that it was a heat unit. For some reason from the factory, it left with a plate on it that says heat, but there's nothing else in this unit that would notate that it had heat. I have a suspicion this may have a low charge, but it has the exact same conditions Russ has with his 57 weather wheel. Now, the only thing I'm surmising is that his unit and my unit were both tested last night under the same weather conditions, and they're exhibiting the exact same performance. But this is unrealistic test expectations. Being out in 80-something degree temperature, 85, 90 degree temperature with 100% humidity in a contained space with nowhere for the heat to go is probably not a realistic test. So, now these refrigeration systems do not have TXVs in them. There is more than likely an orifice inside there, or a capillary tube that's restricting the flow of refrigerant. What that means, for the sake of this argument, is that the refrigeration system does not have a means of compensating based on load change in the refrigeration system. It's going to pump the same amount of refrigerant around regardless whether it's 50 degrees out or 90 degrees out. So when they fill these from the factory, they're filled to more or less be in a place where it performs best when it's indoors. If you put it in outdoor conditions at ridiculously hot temperatures, you're not going to get, more than likely, you're not going to get a full flooding of the evaporator, because the evaporator, the pressures are going to be way too high. It's not going to be a realistic test. So, with that in mind, I've been trying to educate myself on superheat and subcooling, and I'm going to get a clamp thermometer and do some superheat measurements on the evaporator. And with a chart, that should be able to tell me whether or not this unit has a full charge in it. If I calculate the superheat based on the suction line coming off the evaporator, the wet bulb temperature, the outlet temperature, and then refer it to a chart, it will tell me whether or not this unit is charged or not. And then I can determine if I want to put a saddle valve on the suction line, which I did twice already in the past year on units that didn't need it because I misdiagnosed this. So, anyways, enough of a rant. I'm going to fire it up. We'll first put it on vent. High cool. It does start blowing cold pretty much right away. And the other thing that, of course, has me leery about it having a low charge is that it dehumidifies extremely well with moisture pouring out of this unit. And that you'll probably see in a couple of minutes. The humidity is still quite high here. I'm not sure what kind of readings we got now. It says it's 87 here. At the bottom row. We go up here. (62, 63). Up here we're looking at 80. Right there, 82. Now after this ran for a while last night, the top row was down to about 50. The bottom row was down to about 40. Cold down there. Trying to not make this a 20-minute marathon. And it's blowing nice and hot out the back. And this is already feeling cool in the suction line, but it's not hot. After it was running for a few minutes, it started sweating. Running for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes now. So, still dubious about the state of charge. Now, it's a lot warmer outside today than it was earlier in the week, even though it's been warm out. It's 88 degrees and it's out in the sun right now. I'm getting warm air at the top of the evaporator and very cold air at the bottom of the evaporator. This is 94 here in the shade. Top 3 rows are warm, but when you look at it on the side, you see sweating pretty good in the front, not in the back. But what makes me dubious of that charge plug is it's dehumidifying silicon physics right now. Checking the superheat will tell the story better. So I do have to put a service valve on it and charge it. We're trying to hold out, but it may have to happen. Anyways, thanks for watching.